First day at Bullworth, bell screaming, prefects prowling, snow in the forecast. You show up as the new kid with a slingshot for backup. Think GTA, but swap the muscle cars for bikes, explosive chaos for marbles, and instead of cops, you've got teachers and timetables ruining your life. Here's the deal, I'm walking you, beat by beat, through the full story of Bully. Soaked in PS2 era charm, curfew chases, class perks, and pranks that actually push the plot. Small map, big arcs. Jimmy Hopkins shows up to make peace, learns how power really works, and someone flips that plan on him.
You must be the Hopkins boy.
Where'd you come from?
We've been expecting you.
Alright, first day. Jimmy Hopkins, stubborn, scrappy, shipped off by his mum and new stepdad who immediately vanish on a honeymoon.
Who are you? Mom, I thought you told me never to talk to strangers.
Like I said before, Jimmy, please be nice to your new stepfather.
Miss Danvers marches him to headmaster Crabblesnitch for the classic reform speech. It's not subtle, the message is clear. Step out of line and you're done. That's our tone. And the game turns those rules into systems.
You keep that nose clean, boy, or I shall clean it myself.
In the dorm, Jimmy meets Gary and Pete. Gary's all charm with a little too much eye contact. Pete's gentle, honest, and used to being overlooked. Right away, you feel Gary's menace. He talks like a campaign manager. Pete talks like a friend. Bullworth isn't just a backdrop, it plays like a school. Classes are timers on your day. Prefects are roaming cops. Save points are beds. Curfew hits at 11, and if you're still out at 2 AM, you faceplant on the sidewalk. In GTA, you roam forever. Here, time pushes you forward like a real schedule. The first conflicts teach you the ladder. Bullies shake kids down. Prefects swarm at the sound of a whistle, and every prank is a lesson. Marbles trip, stink bombs scatter crowds, slingshots rule from a distance.
Here, you better not. Ow! Come here, you little. Yeah, come and get me.
The controls are chunky, but that's part of the vibe. Mischief with consequences. Gary gives a cafeteria tour, jocks at the gym, greasers at the auto shop, preppies in Harrington House, nerds fortifying the library, bullies roaming everywhere, townies off-campus wildcard. Jimmy's pitch to himself is simple. Bring peace by sitting on top of it. Not saintly, just practical. Then the game shows its heart. Algie, a nervous nerd, needs an escort to the bathroom because bullies stalk the halls.
I'll pay you $2. $2? Are you crazy? Make it 5.
It's silly and sweet, and it sells Jimmy's empathy. He helps, wins trust, and earns a little goodwill. Beatrice crushes on him. Yes, it's awkward. Yes, it's sincere. Bully keeps winking, but it cares about these kids. Halloween seals the tone. Masks, pranks, egging, and Gary pushing lines a step too far. He treats chaos like an audition. Meanwhile, Pete's worry grows. Jimmy shrugs it off. The seed is planted. Gary loves control more than friendship. Here's what most people miss. The classes are character tools. Chemistry yields gadgets. English boosts apologies and taunts. You're not grinding stats, you're learning how to navigate people. That's why the story feels tighter than GTA. Every mechanic bounces back into the narrative. Then comes Russell. He's the bully's hammer. All force, no filter. Gary whispers poison, lures Jimmy to the school's underbelly, the hole, and spins a lie about insults to Russell's mum. That hits a nerve.
Come here. Russell wants vengeance.
We get our first arena showdown, a sweaty PS2 brawl with dodges, grabs, and a lot of concrete. Jimmy wins, but here's the twist. He doesn't humiliate, he offers respect. Russell, confused and impressed, eases off. From that moment, hallways change. Bullies nod instead of charging. The world reacts. Gary's test continues. He tags walls to frame Jimmy, pokes prefects, and drags authority into him. Jimmy keeps cleaning up messes that aren't his, partly because he wants order, partly because he's stubborn. That's the core tension. Jimmy thinks peace comes from beating the loudest voice. Gary knows power comes from manipulating the quiet ones. I remember the first time I missed curfew mid-mission, sprinting across the quad with fireworks in my bag while the clock ticked 1:59. That panic is the game's way of making a small map feel alive. You're a kid with a bedtime trying to end a turf war. With the bullies pacified, Jimmy breathes. The campus opens up. The library stops feeling like a bunker. He and Pete joke about what's next. Gary smiles too wide. Snow is on the way. And the rich kids in Old Bullworth Vale are looking down from their aquaberry vests. Everything clicked for me here. Bullworth's social ladder is the story map. Chapter 1 gives you a win and a warning. You can earn respect with fairness, but someone is already turning that fairness into a weapon. Winter's coming.
So, my friend, are you, as they say, in?
Sure. Are you English?
And the preppies are next. Winter hits and the gate to Old Bullworth Vale swings open. This is Bully's sweet spot. Smaller than GTA, but every corner has a gag or a character beat. Scooters buzz past snowbanks, the carnival hums like a broken jukebox, and right in the middle sits Aquaberry, the posh store that basically says, dress rich or don't bother. The preppies guard their world with boxing gloves. You want in? Step into the ring. It's a social gatekeeping with mouth guards. Jimmy signs up and every match is a lesson. Footwork, patience, and a side of smoke commentary from kids who pronounce pajamas weird. Darby Harrington sits on top with a grin that screams family money. Jimmy isn't impressed, he's practical. Respect gets you access and access gets you leverage. Here's the weird part. Fashion matters. Aquaberry clothes become your key card. Jimmy throws on the sweater vest and suddenly doors open. Conversations soften and missions unlock. It's Bully saying out loud, codes aren't just passwords, they're uniforms. In GTA, a suit might get you into a club. Here, it rewrites how you're seen by an entire clique. Tad's house raid shows the tone. Jimmy storms a mansion with stink bombs and a petty streak, turning trophies and china into collateral. It's cartoon class war. No real malice, just pointed slapstick. And underneath, the theme keeps building. Jimmy thinks he's balancing the scale. The preppies think he's a pest in nice shoes. Meanwhile, Gary keeps stirring the pot. He whispers to preppies that Jimmy mocked their families. He nudges prefects and lights tiny fires you don't notice until your shoes are warm. Pete clocks it, but Jimmy waves him off. That's the trap. When you're winning, you stop checking the ground for marbles. Between missions, the game's heart peeks through. Beatrice wants time with Jimmy, dripping with science puns and shy hope. Eunice, the running gag, gets small moments of empathy instead of just punchlines. Bully's not deep romance, but it remembers these are kids, not just stock NPCs. And that keeps the stakes human. Then the greasers roll in. Switch the venue to an auto shop. Oil on the floor, wrenches in hand, pride in sleeves and engines. Johnny Vincent leads with temper and loyalty in equal measure. The spark? Lola. She dates across clique lines like the town is hers, and honestly, she's the most honest character in the arc. She likes attention and doesn't apologise. Against vests, time cards against trust funds. Jimmy tries to play go-between and the missions capture it. Sabotage a car here, lure some rich kids there, and patch the fallout with a grin and a favour. It's messy team diplomacy, and the PS2 charm is everywhere. Rusty bike races, clunky brawls by flickering streetlights, snow crunching while you sprint from sirens. Shop class isn't filler, it's identity. Timing your inputs to build a better bike doubles as bonding time with the greasers. When you're spinning a wrench in a quick time rhythm, it's telling you who these kids are. Hands-on, proud, and a little stubborn. Everything clicked when I realised each class fleshes out a faction. Lola's photo missions and dates pour gasoline on Johnny's fuse. He asks Jimmy to catch her cheating, then hates the proof. Classic teen loop. Gary fans the jealousy, framing Jimmy as the chaos agent. That's his pattern. He never throws the first punch, he just lines up the swings. Tension spikes into street fights, car park throwdowns, alley chases, fires in the background as snow falls. Jimmy, still chasing peace through strength, takes on Darby in the boxing club's big room. It's a boss fight with velvet ropes and broken noses. When Darby falls, respect shifts again, but it feels different now, like a win that costs something you can't name. And then Johnny, the bike race is the bait. Lola's smile is the fuse, and the tenements are the powder keg. You chase, you scrap, you drag the fight into a PS2 industrial maze that smells like rust and regret. Johnny goes down swinging, and Jimmy stands on another rung of the ladder, breath fogging in the cold. Cue the downside of momentum. With preppies and greasers subdued, Jimmy's unite the school plan looks real on paper, but Gary's shadow looms larger. He's seeded doubt in the nerds, side-eyed the faculty, and learned exactly how to tilt a domino line. The map feels bigger now, but the walls are closing in. Snow starts to melt, the gym lights burn late, spring peeks in, and the library turns from a safe zone to campaign HQ. The nerds want legitimacy, not just protection, and Ernest dreams up an election run like it's a comic book coup. Okay, so basically, Jimmy shifts from street brawls to politics. You're posting flyers, snapping photos, dodging spitballs mid-speech, while Ernest promises vending machine reform. It's weird, but it matters. Power isn't only fists, it's microphones and message. The nerds reward patience. Escort missions around the library, defending their fortress with bottle rockets and goofy traps, quietly show Jimmy's empathy again. He'll throw hands for the greasers, but he'll also babysit a model rocket because it means something to them. That balance is why his rise feels earned. Meanwhile, the teen drama escalates. Mandy, cheer captain and jock royalty, spreads gossip. Beatrice bristles with jealousy. A mission like movie tickets plays like a rom-com beat. Short lines, small stakes, yet it's laying track. Jimmy keeps trying to hold all these threads. Romance, allies, respect. That's the point. Consolidation isn't flashy, it's maintenance. The jocks don't debate, they escalate. They own the gym, the field, and the Friday night spotlight. So the game flips the script. If they worship games, you ruin a game. Steal the mascot suit, become a walking plush decoy, and start the slow burn. Super glue on benches, marbles on the track, spiked balls. The infamous sports drink prank. It's Looney Tunes sabotage, and it lands because Billy's humour always has consequence nipping at his heels. This might seem backwards, but the classes make the pranks sing. Chemistry gave you stink bombs. English gave you better taunts and apologies, which means sneaking and bluffing actually work. The simple version is, lessons are tools for social engineering. GTA gives you rockets, Bully gives you rhetoric and marbles. Between hits, you feel the PS2 clunk in all the right ways. Climbing the gym roof in that slightly too stiff platforming, sprinting past lockers as the bell rings, the audio stingers chirping like school bells in your head. Nostalgia does the heavy lifting. You're not a super criminal, you're a kid in a mascot suit praying the prefects don't look up. Everything clicked when the election arc and the field heist lined up. This is Jimmy learning soft power and spectacle at the same time. He's orchestrating outcomes, not just winning fights, but the counterintuitive part is, the higher he climbs, the more invincible Gary's hand becomes. The nerds almost turned on Jimmy because Gary whispered just enough doubt. Pete flags the pattern again. Jimmy keeps moving. Then comes the mascot humiliation mission that tilts the tone darker. The jocks retaliate cruelly. Jimmy answers with precision, not rage. In other words, he sticks to pranks that unmask hypocrisy. Locker room idols fumble hard when the sprinklers blow and the fireworks go off behind the bleachers. It's revenge as farce. Ted Thompson under the stadium lights. It's a set piece built for payoff. Fireworks crackling, sprinklers hissing, teammates scattering. The fight itself isn't complex, but the framing is perfect. You've stripped swagger away from the jocks, piece by piece. Now you pop the last balloon. Ted falls and the crowd's noise turns from mockery to awe. Jimmy doesn't gloat, he extends the same deal he gave Russell. Respect and order. The jocks, bruise, pride and all. Take it. Here's the weird part. The biggest consequence lands after the win. Mandy gets hit by a photo scandal. The school turns on her fast. Most games would let that be a punchline. Bully hands you a camera and says fix it. You clear her name and she softens. Not as a conquest, but as a person who got a little grace. That's the heart. Empathy as strategy. Gary stays quiet, which is louder than yelling. He's lining up authority now, nudging Crabblesnitch with incidents that make Jimmy look like a tyrant in a sweater vest. Pete, the one friend who sees the whole board, keeps helping. The map widens again. Blue skies and the townies loom past the factory smoke. You feel that shift from campus drama to town problem. Spring fully breaks. The field is quiet. The library hums. On paper, Jimmy owns Bullworth now. In reality, he's just become the centre of the target. Gary's not done. He's only set the stage. The smoke stacks, the sirens, the fenced-off lots. It's the town's underside. And it's where the kids Bullworth rejected ended up. The townies aren't a clique with a clubhouse. They're a consequence. Police cruisers prowl like prefects with bigger flashlights. And every step feels watched. Edgar runs this scene with a hard stare and a harder line. Bullworth kids don't belong. He doesn't buy Jimmy's peace through respect resume. So the game makes you earn it. Factory infiltrations, swap prank kits for stealth, ducking behind crates, riding cranes, moving through catwalks while alarms chatter. It's clunky in that charming way, like the controls reminding you that you're still a kid in a world built for adults. This chapter cashes in every earlier ally. Nerds for intel, greasers for rides, Russell for muscle. Jimmy's not solo, he's calling markers he earned by choosing respect over humiliation. That through line matters because back on campus, it's all unraveling. Fires break out, the gym burns, trophies vanish, rats flood the library. Every faction points the same finger. Gary aimed them. The twist isn't that Gary's evil, we knew that. It's how he weaponizes authority. He frames the town hall tag, nudges Crabblesnitch with carefully timed incidents, then flips Jimmy's United School image into power-mad tyrant. The prefects buy it, teachers tense up, and when Johnny disappears and punches start flying, the principal moves to expel. Gary doesn't need to swing, he makes the rules do it. Pete doesn't fold, he's the one friend who keeps believing in the version of Jimmy the game's been building. He tracks the pattern and points the way off campus. That leads to Zoe Sharp, expelled for standing up to a teacher who deserved it. She's not an item, she's a witness. And she becomes Jimmy's link to the Townie side of the story. Together, they pull a petty, perfect revenge on that gym teacher, because Bully never misses a chance to pair justice with a prank. Then comes the asylum. Yeah, it's pulpy, but it lands. Sneaking through dim halls, piecing together Gary's file, you finally see the outline. A long game manipulator who got clearer eyes on the system than any kid should. It's not an excuse, it's motive. And it reframes the year. Jimmy's project was order, Gary's was entropy with a spotlight, boss time, Edgar in the chemical plant, steam hissing, platform changing. It's a duel that's more about respect than hate. You trade blows, trade words, and when Edgar falls, Jimmy offers the same deal he gave every leader. Stand with me, not under me. Edgar takes it because the real enemy just stepped out of the shadows. That's the turn. With the Townies on side, the map snaps back into focus. Blue skies kids, greasers, nerds, jocks, bullies. Everyone Jimmy treated like people, not pawns, line up. And the march back to Bullworth feels earned, not scripted. Campus is a war zone, fireworks popping, barricades blocking quads, cliques tangled in grudge brawls. Jimmy and Russell bulldoze through. Edgar and the Townies peel fights apart, and one by one, leaders fall back in line on the strength of earlier respect. I helped you, now help me. Isn't a threat, it's a reminder. Gary runs. Of course he does. He wants the bell tower because he craves a stage and an audience. The chase up the stairs sets the final beat. 2 kids, 1 year, and a school that mirrored both their plans. Jimmy unified it. Gary cracked it. Only one version can stand. Campus is chaos. Fireworks bloom over the quad. Barricades choke the stairwells. Every clique you met all year is throwing hands in the wrong direction. Gary wanted a civil war, and for one ugly night, he gets it. Jimmy doesn't give a speech, he gets to work. Rematch gauntlet. That's the structure. You don't beat new bosses, you re-earn old respect. The bullies first. Russell clears a path like a human snowplow, and the same kid who once charged you in a sewer now nods for orders. Jimmy doesn't gloat, he says the line that has been the subtext all game. I backed you, now back me. And it lands. Greaser's next. In the auto shop glow. Johnny's still raw, still proud, but he listens because Jimmy never treated Lola like a prize and never rubbed the win in his face. Quick scrap, quick reset, and wrenches stop swinging. Over by Harrison House, the preppies posture until Darby realises the fight isn't about status tonight. Another scuffle, another truce. In the bleachers, the jocks pile in and Ted hesitates just long enough to remember the stadium lights and the way Jimmy beat him without making him a joke. One more beat down, one more hand up instead of a boot down. It's the same play over and over, and that's the point. The relationships you built are the only weapons that work. Meanwhile, Gary monologues from the clock tower like it's his throne. He lays out the long game, how he poked every insecurity, framed every prank, and turned Jimmy's peace through respect into dictator with a slingshot. It's not a confession, it's a victory lap. But it also exposes the difference. Gary wanted the faction to prove people are pawns. Jimmy used the same board to prove people remember who treated them like humans. The climb to the clock tower is classic PS2 platforming. Stiff jumps, clanky ladders, and camera angles that fight you just a little. And it weirdly works. You feel like a kid scrambling up a building not built for you. Prefects shout below. Fireworks pop like wrong place confetti, and the school's heart keeps beating under the noise. Gary taunts between landings, dredging up every messy situation. Every time you chose empathy, every time you chose mischief. Wants you angry because anger slips. Jimmy keeps moving. Rooftop, wind in your ears, sirens at the edge of town, moonlight on the tiles. Gary circles, mouth still running. The fight is simple, no wild mechanics, no magic weapon, just dodges, grabs, and the school laid out beneath you. And that simplicity is the catharsis. This isn't about a flashy takedown, it's about proving that the loudest guy in the room doesn't get to write everyone else's story. The final stumble is perfect. They crash through the skylight, straight into Crabblesnitch's office, and the whole year lands with them. Gary, mid-gloat, keeps talking. The headmaster finally hears the pattern from the source. Teachers crowd in, evidence lines up. The fires, the rats, the trophies, the town hall tag. Pete and Zoe back the truth, and the authority Gary gained all year turns on him in a snap. Crabblesnitch expelled Gary on the spot. Mr. Burton's mess with Zoe finally gets him fired. And Jimmy, the kid who started as one more transfer with a record, gets reinstated. Not as king, as a student who actually fixed the place the way the adults said they wanted to, but never did. The seasons have turned all the way around. Cliques aren't hugging it out, but they're not at each other's throats. The quad looks like a school again. Jimmy and Pete walk the steps with the kind of quiet you earn, not steal. Zoe squeezes in with a small smile that hints at more without making it a fairy tale, and the loop closes. Bully turns one school year into a tight, funny, coming-of-age story where respect beats humiliation and the calendar beats a map.